Kristi Noem questioned here in the House during the Homeland Security Committee hearing by Representative Eric Swalwell of California. In particular, she's being asked here about the photo that Donald Trump posted of Kilmar Abrego Garcia's hands. And it's a Photoshop photo showing tattoos that they claim are gang tattoos. But again, it wouldn't matter what the tattoo said because they're photoshopped on. But let's see how she tries to wriggle out of this one.
The tattoos aren't photoshopped on. The text above the tattoos.
The text about the tattoos are say something different.
It's purportedly.
Okay.
Purportedly, the tattoos, what's photoshopped on is text MS13, which is decoding the tattoos themselves on each of the knuckles. And the point that I do want to make about all this is that I don't care, even if he has MS13 tattooed on his knuckles in the font of that Photoshop, okay? Because the circumstances here is that the legal system said, do not send that guy to El Salvador for fear of gang retaliation, and then they sent him to El Salvador. So whether he has some sort of entanglements with gang or not are entirely irrelevant. And I would also point out that Bukele, one of the ways he got gang violence under control in El Salvador is doing sweetheart deals with gangs like MS-13. So like this is the Photoshop stuff I think is interesting, but don't get it twisted. He could be the gangiest of gang members, and it still would have been a abomination to send him to CCOT in El Salvador.
Yes, it's about the due process, but the lengths to which like someone like Kristi Noem will go to lie about this is also, I think, instructive in terms of like, Chris Murphy I saw saying the other day that we don't know if our Republicans, will ever wake up from this. If Trump says white is black, they'll say the same thing. And this is, I think, an example of that.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. You have an important job. I think you have one of the most important jobs in the cabinet. Thank you for doing it.
I have a quibble already. Okay. The Department of Homeland Security was created after 9/11.
Look, leading the Gestapo is really important to the Nazi war machine, whatever.
ICE is an outgrowth of that. We could we should abolish ICE. We could very severely pare down the Department of Homeland Security is certainly not an extremely important job. So I'm annoyed at the granting of the premise at the beginning, but whatever.
Thank you for doing it. I want you to have credibility and be taken seriously as you do the job. And so I want to put to rest this question about Mr. Garcia and this photo that the president posted on April 21. Madam Secretary, you agree that the letters MS and the number 13 in Times Roman numeral font, that they are doctored on this photo, right?
Congressman Abrego Garcia.
No, I'm just asking about this photo.
It wasn't based off of tattoos. It was based off an entire case.
And I'll accept that
case against him.
For the purpose of this question. You agree, though, that this is doctored. Is that right?
The same protocols that are
Madam
applied
Secretary,
to every
I want you to have credibility, and
enforcement.
I want you to be taken seriously. Is this doctored or is it not doctored?
I am taken quite seriously.
Is it doctored or not doctored?
The importance that the president has given me to do.
I understand. Is it doctored or not doctored?
One thing that's important to remember is that every single time a case is built.
Madam Secretary, I have a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. I have a bullshit detector. I'm just asking you, is this doctored or not doctored?
Sir, the protocols in the case built against
Can you answer the question?
Were exactly the same.
Madam Secretary,
I don't have any knowledge as to that photo you're pointing to.
Okay, can you take
I
her,
don't, sir.
Can you show her the photo? Walk her the photo down there. No, that one. Please take a look at this photo. It was tweeted by the president on April 21. It's been hanging out there for about a month.
So what is your point?
My question is the numbers and the letter MS-13. Could you look at the photo, please? It's right in front of you.
Are you saying Abrego Garcia is not a wife beater?
No, ma'am.
That he's not a criminal. He's not a human.
Wife beater? So is every cop in MS-13 too?
Yeah,
So they're in
I
a wolf
guess.
gang.
I guess there have been credible allegations against the Secretary of Defense, and there was a police report filed. So,
well, like, what are we talking about? And I'm looking at the so-called evidence besides the tattoos, because they're embarrassed that it's all based on those knuckle tattoos, which they should be. That is fucking ludicrous to send people to a foreign penal colony because of knuckle tattoos. The rest of the evidence is as stupid. It's Chicago Bulls hats. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah.
Well, my question is the numbers and the letter MS-13. Could you look at the photo, please? It's right in front of
Are
me.
you saying Abrego Garcia is not a white beater?
No, ma'am.
That he's not a criminal.
Ma'am,
he's not a human trafficker. And he's not a member of MS.
You vouched for Mr. Garcia when your team said, ma'am, you vouched for him when you said he was mistakenly deported.
Sir,
I didn't vouch for him.
I did not say
in
that.
that
He
photo,
should have been deported. Absolutely.
It's so telling that you won't look at the photo.
And we will not be bringing.
Was it doctored or not?
In staying here.
Can you look to your right at the photo in front of you? Madam Secretary, can you look to the right at the photo in front of you?
I have seen this photo as you held it behind your heads.
Thank you. And the letters MS and the numbers 13, are those doctored or not?
Testimony today is on a doctored photo. You don't want to talk about the facts.
Oh, is it doctored?
So
importance of our national security.
You acknowledge it was
To
doctored.
make sure that the United States is protected.
Madam Secretary, this is not a hard question. Are those doctored or not?
Sir,
is that actually on his hand or not?
This is unbelievable to me that you're focused.
It's unbelievable to me that you can't look at the photo and tell the American people.
I looked at the photo, but I don't have any knowledge as to this photo.
Okay, so it's been hanging out there for 4 weeks. You are one of the chief law enforcement officials in the country. What have you done to investigate whether the president misrepresented the reason that person?
I just want to say, if you remember a week or so ago, we played a clip of Donald Trump being asked by
Can we pull that up?
An ABC News reporter, I think it was Terry Moran, about this photo and why he posted it. And Donald Trump insisted that the letters MS-13 were in fact tattooed on his knuckles, which is, I think, why Noem is just squirming there, like trying to not. She just doesn't want to contradict her boss.
Exactly.
Person has been detained.
Sir,
have you done
time.
anything to try and figure out whether that was doctored or not?
The mission of the Department of Homeland Security is to secure our nation and to make sure that we're out there going after those that are the worst of the worst, the criminals, the bad actors. Abrego Garcia.
So the answer is you've done nothing to correct the president.
That's insane. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, the idea that he had a domestic issue making him a terrorist and a gang member. Cut back, Russ. Cutting back from the worst of the worst. That's what your job should be. And instead, you're going after guys because he had knuckle tattoos and a Chicago Bulls hat. Like, how is this is ridiculous?
Just pull this up from the interview that Russ is talking about here. This is what she's working backwards from. The idea that she hasn't seen the image, I think, people should be very incredulous about that claim, because here it is. This is what she needs. If the president says it, if Donald Trump says it, it must be true. And this is how the rest of the administration operates, at least in public.
He wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
But wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattoo.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Okay. Terry, he tries to strong arm him there, tries to help him out and move on. Because he says, Mr. Old Guy is clearly can't read Photoshop, where I sent the image. Let's put it up for posterity. This is text that's supposed to read for people to tell the public that his cannabis, the smiley face, the cross, and the skull mean MS-13. And Trump, the dotard, thinks that this was the real tattoos, and he wasn't, and he tried to correct the reporter who was trying to correct him on it, didn't learn his lesson, and then a month later you have Kristi Noem, who can't say what she knows to be true, obviously in the congressional hearing, to piss off King Trump.
Well,
she's under oath also.
Yeah.
That's why she won't answer it probably.
Yeah.
She's just avoiding the question. I will say though, I think we're being generous when we say it's Photoshop. That's like MS Paint. That's like MS Paint added. And based on Trump's interpretation, because in this photo, you can see not only did they add the MS-13, but they added like text under the tattoos too that say what like pictorially it says. Like, so it's like marijuana under the so like he thinks that the guy on his knuckles has an M and then a marijuana leaf and then in like 0.1% font or whatever, right? The word marijuana spelled out, which I suppose to Trump makes sense. And you saw on Twitter too, like a lot of people making fun of this, but a lot of like the MAGA, the Chud fluencers were just like trying to run interference for this clip, saying like, no, you're misrepresenting what Trump said. He's interpreting the tattoos. He's not saying it's literally written on the knuckles, which is exactly what he was saying in that clip, if you're paying attention. But I mean, all of this stuff is, they're trying to try him in the court of public opinion because they already tried him in court and they lost. But the referencing of him being a criminal as though that kind of absolves them of having to follow the rule of law when it comes to engaging with him is like the craziest thing. And it's so distressing that it makes sense to a lot of Americans, because that's when you need your civil and human rights the most, when you're accused of being a criminal. If it was as simple as being accused of being a criminal and you suddenly lose those rights, then then you don't have those rights, because they just accuse everyone of being a criminal. This only works because our society has so like racialized the idea of crime and then like criminalized the idea of immigration that people can even think this makes any sense. But this is an inevitable and a disgusting erosion of civil rights under like the auspices of two marginalized groups of people who happen to be incredibly oppressed in our society, which is the incarcerated, uniformly incarcerated, and then undocumented and documented migrants. And they're trying to use both of those identities to make it okay for people to go like, oh, well, I guess we just don't get civil or human rights if you're accused of certain types of crimes. Like it's like you said, like, so do cops not get civil human rights because they're like, a lot of them are wife beaters? Is that just what is the standard for losing your due process?
Well, what about Trump? Trump has been credibly accused of rape. He was found liable, but there have been criminal charges against Donald Trump. Does that immediately count? Because he was, until he became president. The description
of his violent assaults is harrowing.
He is supposed to have his day in court to determine whether or not he did those things. And he would not expect to be already labeled with that without going through due process. But if you're Latino, you're just by definition a criminal according to them. So.
And then the slippage between he's a gang member. Okay, the only thing we have on him with the gang stuff is the Chicago Bulls tattoo and Chicago Bulls hat and knuckle tattoo. But he's a criminal because he had domestic issue, and also he's a terrorist. Where the fuck did that come from? It comes from because when people like Kristi Noem get to use the word terrorist, they get a lot more power and a lot more leeway and clearance for what type of abuses they're allowed to inflict on people.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.